Cradle to Cradle is a design philosophy and practice that looks at designing things that can go back to industry or nature forever, instead of being lost to landfills or incinerators, things like that. So it's about closing the cycles from take, make, waste, to take, make, remake, retake, remake, retake. Fashion for Good is a version of Cradle to Cradle relative to the fashion industry, which said, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could make fashion, retake it, remake it, and do things that are good for the environment and good for industry and good for people forever? Then we can fashion endlessly. And so to do that, we have 5 characteristics of what is Cradle to Cradle quality. They are: first, it's good for human and ecological health. Second, it's in a circular economy, it's in a sharing economy, and it's a shared economy. In other words, these things have benefit across generations economically. Third, it has renewable power and clean energy. Fourth, it has clean water that is available to all children in the world, because clean water is a human right. And lastly, it has good lives that allows us to share this with each other in grace and dignity, with creativity and joy. So the 5 goods are really Cradle to Cradle products as a social movement, where we have good materials, we have good economy, we have good energy, we have good water, and we have good lives. Fashion for Good is a chance to look at the great things in life that can happen endlessly. So fashion is a verb. To fashion things is something humans do. And the idea that we could keep fashioning things over and over again to our liking, at the same time to make things that are delightful for the landscape, for the earth, for each other, for human health, for human production, is a delightful prospect. So Fashion for Good is about doing things that are good and sharing them with each other. And that would allow us to fashion endlessly with grace and dignity. Fashion is by definition the making of things. And fashion, as it transforms with culture, is by definition innovation. So it's the making of things and innovation at its core. And then we add delight, surprise, color, culture to all these things. And you get this fantastic mix of human expression that we can see with a sense of urgency and speed. But the part I like most about this is that if you look at fast fashion today, where in the United States we hear that the average person is now getting 60 to 70 new pieces of clothing per year. Imagine that. If we look at that and we think, is this a good or a bad? Well, imagine if that was a good, huh? What would that be? That would be that we're making healthy, safe things that we share with other generations while we enjoy ourselves changing color, doing various things. I mean, that's really fascinating, and that requires intense care. So we move this idea from being kind of time-fully mindless, where we're not thinking about the implications of this action, like what it does to the world. So we're in a hurry. See, so we're timeful because we're in a hurry, and we're mindless because we don't want to think about it. And then we stop and we reflect and we say, what if we could fashion endlessly with grace and dignity? Well, then we would become timelessly mindful. Wouldn't that be interesting? So imagine that people buying fashion could have timelessness in mind. This is of benefit to all generations, and they know it.